Everyone come forward. Great. Okay, let's start. Good afternoon. Oh, come on. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Logos Institute for Crisis Management and Executive Leadership. I'm Fred Garcia. Some of you know me as Professor Garcia. You need to knock that out right now. Once you cross the stage, I'm Fred. I'm looking forward to having you call me that. Those who haven't yet crossed the stage, do that next year. We are here to honor those who are graduating in the NYU Masters in Public Relations and Corporate Communication program. We are members of a community. And none of us can do it alone. It takes a village. Sometimes it takes Greenwich Village. But before we begin the formal ceremony, I'd like us to look around the room as I call people out by category. I will then eventually call people out by name. But let me get a show of hands first of those who are in the room who are members of the Logos Institute for Crisis Management and Executive Leadership. Look around. These are your hosts today. Yay. Let me ask, again with a show of hands, how many people here have graduated from New York University at any time in any program? Let's raise our hands. All right. How many people here are currently enrolled students at New York University? Let's see the hands. Okay, even if you're holding your phone, you can hold your hands up. Let me ask a show of hands. How many people here are on the faculty at New York University? Yay! Let me ask a show of hands, whether you're on the faculty or not, how many of you have taught in some capacity in a New York University classroom? Let's see. Yay! And how many in whatever capacity have advised an NYU capstone? Yay! One other special category. How many people here were NYU students and are now NYU faculty? All right. Welcome everybody. Before we begin the by name honoring of people, I'd like to introduce my colleague and friend, Professor Kristen Johnson, and I will call her whenever you like to call her.
Welcome, Jackie. Hi, Jackie's mom. Hi, everyone. I am Kristen Johnson. Some of you call me Professor Johnson. You are welcome to call me Kristen. And for those of you who are crossing the stage tomorrow, I would welcome you to call me your peer, because I too am a graduate of PRCC. In fact, 10 years ago, I was crossing the stage. So I'm a 2008 graduate of the Public Relations and Corporate Communications program at NYU, which was started by Professor Garcia and Professor John Dorley. And together, they have been so instrumental in bringing a whole new approach to the professional practice and professional education of public relations. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. It's been a great honor to teach. This is the 8th semester I've completed teaching public relations consulting. book because next spring I will have a book coming out.
There will be a party, by the way.
Yes, you'll all be invited. But I want to take this moment to really honor Professor Garcia. He, this year, has completed his 30th year teaching at NYU.
There was a time I had hair.
Not that long ago, I remember that. We have been circulating as quickly as we can, but not quickly enough. Just a small little gift of thanks for your many years of service. And this is just a little bit of the gratitude that we feel. And for anyone who has not yet touched this book, even though it says don't touch this, I want to invite you to sign it, but first I just want to present it to you, Professor. And it says can't touch this, and I think that speaks to his reputation, because honestly he has surpassed what so many people would define as teacher. It's really more about the inspiration, and as you go forth, whether you're graduating or you're continuing your academic career, or perhaps you're a fellow professor or a guest here, we really do our best to create community, and you are all a part of the community. And so thank you for being here today and for helping us celebrate the 2018 graduates. So congratulations.
Thank you. None of us does this alone, and we are a community as we are part of other communities. But I'd like to take a moment to single out some people and invite us to honor them today. Let me begin by addressing the graduates. What I'm about to say is not about you. What I'm about to say is about the people who made you possible. So I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we have some parents in the room. And I would like to have us take a moment to reflect in gratitude for all that our parents and our families and our dear friends made possible, both materially and spiritually, that allowed you all to come and study, allowed us the opportunity to teach you, and allowed the public relations profession to have the opportunity to welcome you into their fold. Without our families, this would not have been possible. Thank you. I'd like, in particular, to the degree that they can get through the crowd, to invite the professors in the program to please come forward. Professor Kerrigan, Professor Powell, Professor Johnson, and Professor Garcia. And I want to particularly brag about this guy. So, about 28 years ago,
longer,
30 years ago, I was a managing director at a small political and crisis consulting firm called the Sawyer Miller Group. Today that firm is known as Weber Shandwick. And and my boss came in and said, "We've got this new intern. We don't really know what to do with him, but he went to NYU and so did you. And you're now teaching there, so he's your intern. And that was Ken Kerrigan.
Yeah.
And some years later, I arrived in my classroom at NYU, and there, sitting in one of the chairs, was Ken Kerrigan.
That's right.
And he became the student. And some years later, he became a client.
Ooh, that's right.
Yes, that's right.
I think why, yeah.
And some years later, I was working for a big company as an advisor to that big company, and they said, oh, and Weber Shandwick is doing our public relations, and their head of corporate communication is going to come to the meeting too.
Yeah.
I said, great. And I walk into the conference room on Wall Street, and there is Ken Kerrigan. Yeah. I'm not allowed to say who they are. Okay. And then Ken becomes a professor. And I love the fact that Ken has blossomed into such a gifted professor. I hear students come up to me all the time and say, hey, I'm studying with Professor Kerrigan. I just learned that you guys have worked together. And they want to tell me all the braggy things about Ken.
It's amazing what money can't buy.
It's exactly right. I also have students who come up to me and say, I'm studying investor relations with Professor Powell, and he's great. To which I reply, you're exactly right. Professor Powell is great. So who here is a student of Professor Powell? Yay! Let's applaud Professor Powell. And who's a student of Professor Kerrigan? Yay! Let's applaud Professor Kerrigan. And you've heard Professor Johnson tell her story. Who's a student of Professor Johnson? And you know she wrote a book. All right. Anything you guys would like to say?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Fred Garcia. This is true. I have now been teaching, believe it or not. I finished, I think, the 7th year.
Wow.
And it's been an interesting ride. I only missed one semester teaching investor relations because fate got in the way and broke my leg, and I inherited this new friend. But I'm able to move, and for those who've been in class, you know I'm able to move. What's important is that whatever you do, be good. Be the very best that you can be. Even if you're a garbage man, be the best garbage man that you can. You're not always going to be behind a truck dumping a can. Be a leader. Have a perspective. Defend what you do. Know who you are. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. There is no easy path. You'll be found out. And then what will you be able to do? So keep doing the good stuff. Aim to be better. Aim to be stronger. And I wish you all the very best.
Okay. In the same spirit, building that, never forget who you want to be. And so, I would say, without being embarrassing to you, I wouldn't be in public relations without Fred Garcia. I don't know what I'd be doing. My whole life would be completely different. And it goes back before that moment at Sawyer Miller Group, back to Fred's even younger days, when he was at a firm called Adams and Reinhardt. And there was a young person on his team, at the time named Jeannie Mackey, who was a classmate of mine at NYU. And she was a year ahead. She's now my son's godmother, so we've been friends for 35 years. And she said, you have to meet this guy, Frank Garcia. He just spent his entire Saturday volunteering, teaching all of us how to media train executives. And I'm like, what's media training? And then I got lucky enough that he was brought in as a guest speaker when I was an undergrad. And then when I was interviewing at the Sawyer Miller Group, they said, "Oh, you went to NYU. Who do you know at NYU?" And I said, Fred Garcia. And I thought that was just a question. And this big guy named Davis Weinstock turns his back on me, and I'm sitting there in the chair and starts dialing. And he picks up the phone and goes, "Hey, Fred, it's Davis. How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God." He's calling Davis Weinstock. And I'm like, "Well, I'm done." I'm just looking at my watch and he's time at home. Fred doesn't actually know me. This is a problem. And I hear a lot of and that's really interesting. And I see, "Well, thanks for your time, Fred." And he hangs up. And then he turns around and he said, "So Fred says you're the real deal. When can you start?" And I'm like, "When did that happen?" And I said, "Well, at some point I'll have to send him a thank you card, but I'm probably not going to see him again." And then about 2 weeks later, I'm working and I'm going to the men's room, and the elevator doors open, and who steps out? It's Fred Garcia. And he said, "You work for me now." I'm like, "But I got to go." I'll be right back. And that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, as they said in a famous movie one day. But that's all true. So without Jeannie and without that connection, I'd probably end up a muni bond clerk at DTC.
Wow. Great.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we had a talk.
I had a chat. Just go forth and follow your dreams.
But just confusing when I tell the story. So when I said, "Never forget who you want to be," the point of starting with that is I wanted to be him. So the first time I saw him, I said, "That's what I want to do for a living." And there's been many times where I pull out the book and I ask, "What would Fred do?" Especially when times get tough and when you have a client in a crisis, and you look and say, "What would his counsel be?" And try and do that. And so find that person in your life. It doesn't have to be professional, but find that person who represents the things you want to be, either on a personal level, the person who helps bring out the best in you, and always try and be that person until you're better than them, and then move on.
So now let me get heavy and put pressure on you,
Amen.
because the guy I wanted to be was Jim Lukashevsky. And
Whoever got a bigger ooh.
and I eventually was honored to be mentored by and then partner with and work with and teach with and write with Jim Lukashevsky. The guy that Jim Lukashevsky wanted to be was
Fred Garcia?
no. was Chet Berger.
Oh, wow.
And he got to work with and work for and know and be friends with Chet Berger. And the guy who Chet Berger wanted to be was Edward L. Bernays.
Oh, wow.
And Berger got a chance to work with and to teach with and write with Bernays. So Bernays was mentor and teacher to Berger. Berger was mentor and teacher to Lukashevsky.
Wow.
Lukashevsky was mentor and teacher to me. I was mentor and teacher to a bunch of you, and you guys are now mentor and teachers to a bunch of you guys. So the solemn duty falls on you to continue that chain, and from today, mentor and teach the next generation. That we have built something really precious in the last 98 years since Bernays started teaching and writing about this stuff. And it is an unbroken chain, and we're passing the baton to you now. So as you go forward, if you want to honor Professor Powell, and if you want to honor Professor Kerrigan, if you want to honor Professor Johnson, or if you want to honor me, honor us by passing it to the next generation. So thank you. Now I'm going to embarrass individuals. So now I'd like to turn attention to several students and alumni. Let me invite Carolina Perez-Sanz to come forward. Some of you know Carolina. Carolina is an alumna of our program. I had the honor to be not only her teacher but her capstone advisor. And about a year ago, Logos had the honor to present Carolina with the Logos Institute Rising Leader Award, because we saw potential in Carolina that we believed ought to have been recognized. And Carolina has more than delivered on that potential so far, but she's just getting started. So keep an eye on Carolina. But as the Logos Institute honoree, I wanted to make sure we all had an opportunity to acknowledge your presence and your contribution. Thank you. Let me also invite any student who was a capstone advisee of mine or of Professor Kerrigan or of any of the other Logos Institute people to please come up here and let us say hello. All right. So Ruby Chen is graduating this year, having written a brilliant capstone on how Chinese companies can use soft power rather than hard power to retain trust in a crisis. Well done. Song Chi has written a brilliant capstone on the history of American anti-intellectualism in politics, and in particular how it is an unbroken strain from the 19th century through the current presidential election. And it is a great read, and you're going to be finding opportunities to read from bits of it in the foreseeable future, and that's great. And I'm going to invite Inan, who is at the Logos Institute, to give a brief description of your capstone and where we can find it online.
Okay. Because of Professor Garcia, I became really interested in both crisis, neuroscience, and politics. So I choose to do my capstone in how humility and charisma can affect or influence the presidential election campaign. How the perception of the two characteristics can affect the voting decision of followers. And if you ever want to read it at some free time, you can find my capstone at Logos blog. If you can just Google my name, it will pop up.
Inan.
Yeah.
And I see Maura escaping into the background, but Maura wrote a brilliant capstone on how to deal with online shaming, which I actually sent to a client who had a child who was suffering from online shaming, and the client found it to be extremely helpful in getting them through that crisis. So thank you. John Anakitis.
Last year.
It was last year. Share the crisis, the capstone.
Well, it was a combination of neuroscience and negative political language, and the result it has on changing people's attitude.
Why does fear language motivate voters more than hope language?
Wow.
And it was quite prescient in predicting how things were going to play out in American politics.
And they did.
And they did.
Thank you.
Other capstone advisees? Okay. Now I would like to take a moment to formally invite us to grab a beverage if we have one, to pretend we have a beverage if we don't have one, to help yourself to a beverage if you can. All right, we're not done. Get a beverage. If you'd like a stronger beverage, we have both by Joel and some whiskey here. Yeah. All right. To those who have a beverage or those who have in spirit a beverage, I invite us to raise our glass first to thank the parents and family members who made it all possible. Gambe. And now, graduates, you've worked really hard. You've made us very proud. Tomorrow you are going to cross the stage, and we three professors, Kerrigan and Johnson and I, will be cheering you as you cross the stage.
Okay. Rambunctiously.
That rambunctiously, that has the added advantage of really annoying the dean. So as you cross the stage, your classmates and family members will be on the right. Please acknowledge them. We will be on the left. We will be waving at you. Please wave back. Because that really annoys the dean. I invite us all to raise a glass in honor of the graduating class of 2018. Congratulations, Gambe. Well done. And now I invite you all to get to know each other better, to consume more beverages and nibbles, and we look forward to getting to know you better as the evening goes on. Thank you.
No, I'm serious. we pledge our vote. This is beautiful. Yeah, I think we could do that. All right.
3, 2, 1. Okay, and one more.
Because I thought maybe I just
Oh yeah, that's also one too.
That goes back a ways. So, this is a beautiful thing. I hope that somebody captured it all. It was live on Facebook. And I'll put it like We should, absolutely. All right, people. I'm going to find a coach for the
Oh, well, we got a good crowd. Yeah.
haven't seen it for a while. And we have to do this. I do communication. And we also have a movie side that they have a movie master.
半个小时了嘛。
We did the newest Spider-Man movie at home point. Yeah, if you see some of the scenes of the movie, you see it's in Queens, and it's anyway.
Spider-Man is from Forest Hill. It's not from the movie.
I know.